Hello and welcome everybody to today's Intuitive Growth with Oracle and Tarot Cards series. Today we are joined with a very special guest who I'm honored to share with you today. And I say share with you today because Janine Shapiro is my dear mom. So I am grateful to have you here and share where this magic began. How are you doing today?
I am blessed and highly favored. Thank you so much for the privilege of being able to share with yourself and your audience. It's such an incredible privilege. Thank you.
I must say we're definitely privileged in having a mom and daughter relationship in which we can do things together and share the magic of life, and not have different opinions on that. So it's beautiful having a relationship that we can grow together. So thank you for making this contract with me.
You are so welcome. Likewise.
Awesome. So you began reading cards 3 years ago. How did your journey with reading cards begin?
It was actually quite an interesting one. I started becoming aware of certain gifts that I had and that gifts I'd never acknowledged. And I started, well, maybe I'm not losing all my marbles on the same day. I really can see and feel, and I do get messages. And a friend invited me to a shop called Crystal Spirits. I don't know what you would call it.
Esoteric store.
Esoteric store. And we went and listened, and I went in and I saw the cards, and this one pack just called my name. And for me at that time, it was an investment, and I plucked up my courage and I took it out the cupboard and I went and I paid for it and I went home and I started having fun. And it's just been a journey since then. So I'm really delighted to A, have found the esoteric store, and B, to have started the journey.
There's a lot of different things we can dive into there and explore. I want to first reference, you shared with me that oracle cards are a great tool to use when used creatively. And I love that you just said you went home and you started having fun. So could you elaborate a little bit on why you specified creatively?
Yes, because we can influence those cards if we're not careful. So if you wish it to say X, if you aren't aware of what you're doing, you can make it say X. And meanwhile, it should be Y. Whereas when you allow it, you treat the card with respect, you build up the relationship with it, and you have awareness that it is a focusing tool as well as a divination tool. You start getting the answers that spirit would like you to have, not the ones that you necessarily would like to have. And I find when you play and have fun, because you're working more right brain, now we've got to work more right brain rather than left brain logical, it just really does help so much.
So you shared how this was at the beginning of your journey of realizing that maybe you're not crazy with all of your psychic abilities that had been opened throughout your life that weren't acknowledged as that is what they were. How did you balance being aware that you were using the cards for divination rather than influencing them to prove your doubts and prove your worries and concerns?
I think if I look back on it, it was literally because I didn't know that. And I always said, well, whatever's for the best, let that come forward. And literally I started having fun. I started playing. I read the books. I didn't realize it, but I was tapping into the person who had created the cards' energy. And it just happened to be Colette Baron Reed. Would you like me to show it to everybody? It just happened to be Colette Baron Reed. And this lady is passionate about her cards. And in the essence of having fun and not placing expectations on the answers, I was able to receive and to move forward. Did I answer your question?
Yes, and I think you made a beautiful distinction. So if I can clarify, when you say use the cards creatively, when you approach it with no expectations, simply what insight is available, would you say that is the creative space?
Absolutely. It's a guide. It's not a definition of that, because there's multiple purposes, multiple pathways. And depending on your mood on the day, you might interpret it this way and you might interpret it that way. And it just depends on understanding your own spiritual vocabulary that it's able to speak to you.
I love that spiritual vocabulary. So how have you used cards to develop your spiritual vocabulary?
Well, for me, it's been very much around what is the essence of the card? What does the wording have meaning for me, and what is the true meaning? People who know me know words. I go back to what was the original use of the word? Where did it come from? How is it made up? What is the energy behind it? Does it make me feel light? Does it make me feel heavy? And then what are the pictures that come forward from the person? What is the flow involved? And as you work with that, that's how you build up your vocabulary. Because like for me, a tree may not mean the same thing as you. For example, this morning, I have another beautiful pack that also called my name. And at that time, I went back 4 times to get before I got it, the Earth Magic one, because it really called my name as well. And I was saying, okay, I didn't read what the Stephen D. Farmer was saying. When I went running, and I said, okay, the word tree has come forward, which is the meaning behind it is breathe. So I started asking myself, what does a tree represent to me? What is the tree's, if I say use on earth, that's not the word I'm looking for. Service. How does a tree serve being on earth? How would it serve me now to understand that the picture is of a forest, of community, of give and take, of receive, that as I breathe out, the tree breathes in. As the tree breathes out, I breathe in. Breath is very important. It keeps us alive. It keeps us balanced. It keeps us centered. For another friend of mine, breath means grounding. It means she has a different interpretation. For her, it's a treatment modality, not necessarily a connection modality. And that to me is the difference. And I was saying, okay, is this from a treatment perspective? Is this from a taproot perspective? Is this from reaching the sky perspective? What is the perspective you're coming forward for? Because for me, the more questions you ask, yes, you take trust. That's things on trust. That is how you build up your vocabulary. It's, okay, what is its meaning today? What is its long-term meaning? And if I'm sitting with somebody and working with them with it, what is the meaning in their life, not just my life? So I'm getting this, is it my vocabulary or is it their vocabulary? And it's through understanding that you're able to build it up.
So for all the overthinkers out there, excuse me, for all the overthinkers who hear that and now they want to sit down in front of their cards and go, there's so many meanings that this can be and there's so many alternatives and ways of being, how do they have clarity in their trusting that they're interpreting all of those layers in alignment with truth for their soul?
I just want to explain that everything that I took hours to explain there, normally for me is an instantaneous download thing. And when something goes ping and it feels light and it feels bright and it shines out at you, that's what it is. So you don't have to wade through it. You just say, what are the meanings? And I'm just telling, speaking took much longer than what flashed through my brain this morning. And what came out for me was about the grounding. And also, I asked people, look at what is the energy of that week? What is the energy of that month? What is happening around your life? And that allows it to ping. And it literally, for me, I feel like I hear a bing, or it just sees a light, like something. If you're looking at something from perspective, like here, and then one thing will like step forward for me. Whatever steps forward, trust it. Whatever, not necessarily the noisiest one, the lightest one is the one that is coming forward for you. And that's why I love sharing, because for me, I didn't know this. For me, it was a process of learning, of working with it, paying a lot of money in some ways to learn about it. And Jessica, let's be honest, but you working with it, me working with it, and getting to share with you, we both had experiences. And what you're offering here is empowering people to say, oh, this was this person's experience, that was Jessica's experience, this was the next person's experience. I wonder what is coming forward for me, what aligns with me, what way is the best for me. And that's how it works with me, for me.
Powerful. And a beautiful, I love how you brought together how you're highlighting how it's an instant notice. It's the thing that stands out. It's the thing that feels curious and, ooh, that's sparkly. Not distracting, but, ooh, you want to lean into it almost. And in life, very often when things are happening and life is just, moving at its own pace, which can often feel very fast in moments of intuition coming through. When people say, trust your gut, everyone's like, well, I heard my gut, but there was a lot of other voices going on, and there was conditioning and the situation, and I couldn't trust my gut in that moment because it was just too subtle. It was just too light and such like that. So I really appreciate you explaining that so beautifully to allow us to remember that it is that thing that goes ping inside of us. Have you found a relationship between, as you read your card decks and receive that instant download, and being able to recognize what stands out for you and what feels light? Has that added value in your daily interactions of using your intuitive muscles?
Absolutely. And I also, before I ask, who would like to speak with me today? And sometimes 2 packs will stand out, not just one. And then you get a mix of the message through it. The other thing, you said something there that triggered a thought in my brain, and I lost it a bit. It'll come back. But to me, it's literally to ask, which pack would like to speak to me today? This is my question. And then it comes forward. Or often I will look at, and I'll get this sense, pick up that pack and draw one card to work with it. And it will very often bring things together. I also look at, how am I feeling before I go into it? Because what we are feeling, often you then, doom and gloom. Get up, shake it up, and then go back. Because ego will also likes to be involved. That little inner child also likes to be involved. And they can, you and I both know what children can do with paintbrushes. And here's a disclaimer, Jessica never did this. Do on walls when they have a go at it. So you don't wish to have your inner child scribbling all over your reading and your ego bringing logic into something that spirit is trying to speak to you about. However, there is that deep inner knowingness that's asking to come forward. And then I found I don't so much do tarot as I work with oracle cards more. I do have 2 beautiful tarot decks, but they are not with me. One on the Lord of the Rings and another one about Kabbalah. And they are both very interesting to use. The Kabbalah is not tarot and it's not oracle. It seems it's more of a blend of both. However, it brings 4 different messages. Why was I telling you this? Oh, because you also be very aware of that ego when you spoke about those voices. And what I find that I will do is I will just place my hand on my heart and I will just say, okay, all of me, come back to me now, please. Janine, Kathleen, come back to me. Center and ground, and then move forward. And make sure that I'm not asking from anger, anxiety, fear, because that does not always invite in the correct message. Not that there's a correct message, doesn't always invite in the most uplifting and accurate message. Because let's
If
be
I,
honest, sorry, let's be honest, you can say it says anything to you depending on what you would like it to do. However, there's sometimes it would like to say something more specific than all over the place.
I just wanted to share an example of how I experienced exactly what you're sharing there with the ego, the inner child. What space are you asking the question from? For a long while, my cards were the only really source of clarity I could, a tangible clarity, if I can say that, tangible clarity when I was in a massive state of anxiety. But very often I wasn't asking to resolve the anxiety. I was never asking that. I was asking what is spirit presenting to me here? What is spirit offering to me here? So if I may just clarify, that is kind of what you're saying about the ego and the inner child. They're coming from a place of like, I need love, whereas divination and the creativity is just going, there's a wholeness present. What is the wholeness? Is that correct?
It's giving you a piece of your puzzle that you require for that day. It will give you a different piece the next time you speak to it. And something that I'm quite, I wouldn't say passionate about doing, but I normally record with the date, the time, what the question was, and where I am, my question, especially if it's something quite important. And I will see over a week the message that comes forward. And I don't always pull the cards every day over it. Sometimes it'll be a Monday, Wednesday, and a Thursday. And then I look at it on a Friday, or it will be Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And then on a Saturday, I will look at it. And I go and I read and I say, that's interesting. This is the common wording coming forward. This is the common image coming forward. This is the common message that is asking to speak with me. And then I may even pull cards around, is this the correct message? I will also sometimes use a pendulum. Those, as you know, I will also just sit and speak with spirit and say, Spirit, is this the correct message? Does it feel heavy? Does it feel light? Does it feel anxious? Does it feel calm? Is there ease in this, or is there dis-ease in this? And take it from there. And it's normally, that is why people who know me know, I go, please journal, please journal, please journal. Go and journal, because it allows common themes to come through. And when you see that common theme, especially over a month, you can go, maybe I should rather have done this. I wonder what the message was there. Oh, my soul. I'm sorry. I should have listened. And other times, yippee, I listened.
So do you find that being able to become aware of the theme gives you more confidence in listening?
Yes, absolutely. It builds your trust. It shows you that you can trust you, that you can trust that inner knowing, and that you can trust that spirit will bring things on time for your time. And, or, you know, depending on, it brings me the message on time every time. And by looking at what I've journaled over a week, I will get a sense of, okay, I was correct. Wow, yippee, that was great. When I first started doing the energy of the week and the energy of the month, I used to go and listen to other people's readings, especially those who worked with the stars, with the astrology. And I go, yes, yes, yes. And the reason why I would do it, as well as building up my trust, was to get vocabulary. And sometimes I'll go back and I'll go, I didn't read that last time. And that's because your inner vocabulary is coming out, not necessarily the vocabulary that the author of the cards was wishing to bring forward. However, spirit was bringing the message forward. I don't know if you've experienced that.
Definitely. And you can receive a card every day for a month, and each time it's like a new conversation is happening. And I love that tool that everyone has available to take away from that, where draw your cards and then go check in with someone else, and don't use it as confirmation or comparison, but it gives you that ability to go, oh, okay, this is what I was seeing, just like a good pat on the back moment kind of a thing. So that sounds like an easy to do, right? Like an easy way of getting that clarity.
Yes, yes, especially in the beginning, because everybody goes, oh, I don't know if I'm hearing correctly. Well, if you're hearing it, it's okay. You're hearing it. The thing is to check in who's hearing it. You from spirit, or from ego, or from inner child, or from victim. And that's where the cards help. Because at the end of the day, go back to what the author was saying. Take it at face value and allow it to speak to your spirit and your soul.
So when you say go to the cards, are you talking about you receive an intuitive insight throughout the day, you get a gut feeling, and then you go to your cards to clarify whether that was ego talking or inner child talking or spirit talking? Is that so? So you hear the intuition first and then you go to the cards. Is that correct?
I use it that way as well. Or like in the morning, it depends on what comes forward for me. Like in the morning, my standard question is, good morning, spirit. Good morning, soul. What would you like me to know today for my highest of good? And then sometimes an intuitive message will come forward, or I'll just have a feeling to pull the cards. Like this morning, I had a sense to pull the cards before I ran. And while I was running, the messages came through. And when I came back, I jotted them down, I journaled it, and I could see the flow of it. Whereas yesterday, I got the message and then I pulled cards to say, okay, how would you like me to expand on this? Is there anything else you'd like me to know? I expanded on it. And then I went and I meditated and other answers came through. So for me, it's to tap in and find out what works best for you and what works best for you at that moment in time. I have discovered that the minute you make something as a hard and fast rule, you are setting yourself up for being squished and being constricted rather than being creative. And that's also when I mean somebody who's listening to this is getting a little bit resistant to what I'm saying in the future. The bottom line is use it to create more, to be expansive. And that's how it works. So yes, I will use it to confirm intuition, and other times I will use it so that intuition can flow due to the focus that I have been given.
Okay, I feel like there's a lot of takeaways from there, and take away whatever resonates with you and stands out to you and feels available for you to lean into and feels light and good, as you shared in the beginning. So we're going to ask a little bit of a fun question. It sounds like you have a very intimate relationship with your cards. So if you were to describe your relationship with your cards, what taste would you describe it with?
Oh, sweet and smooth like chocolate, like a good chocolate that, and then you have coffee with it. That taste of the coffee and the chocolate as it comes into your mouth, the bitter and the sweet and the soft and smooth of the milk, heated milk. And that it has that duality, that potentiality of it. It's amazing.
Sounds like you're going on a date with your cards.
I do. You know what? You've got to treat your cards like a friend, and you do take them on a date. And I speak to them, and then they respond. I mean, you don't just walk up to, well, some people do, so maybe that's not a good analogy. You don't just walk up to somebody and say, tell me your life story. They're going to look and say, who the hell are you?
That is so beautiful and true. You are building a relationship with your cards, and as you build your relationship with your cards, you're going to understand the vocabulary that you're communicating with.
Yes, and I'm sure a lot of your other previous speakers have shared that as well, as you go along. But for me, it's like taking the cards I'm sure your other speakers will have spoken, but you take them and you feel them and you speak to them and you make friends with them and ask them, well, this is what's written here. What do you actually mean? How do you mean it? Oh, look at you. Aren't you beautiful? How are your stunning colors? Like here, I love these colors and the greens and the turquoises. That's so interesting because it says with self-respect, self-judgment ends and the self-rejection ends too. With self-respect, self-love grows stronger every day. And when you respect yourself and you respect your cards, they will allow you to understand that as you agree to respect yourself for who you are, for what you are, your cards will as well. And as you build that relationship, more will come forward for it. Because remember, in a way, you are tapping into the person who designed its energy. You are tapping into the person who did the painting's energy. You are tapping into source energy. And it's to, hello, how are you today? Oh, look what came forward. Everything in God's creation is perfect. How beautiful. Thank you. And the hummingbird. I love the hummingbird because the hummingbird is about making the impossible possible. And when you can make the impossible possible, because think about it, the hummingbird is dead still. It's drawing out the sweetness of life. And yet its little wings are going a million beats per second. It's in constant motion without moving and drawing in the sweetness of life. And that is what our cards do for us. They are in constant motion, even though they are standing still, bringing the sweetness of life to us.
I'm hearing the theme of sweet.
I was going to say that.
That was definitely standing out. So do you have a specific story which deepened your knowing that these oracle cards are real, especially because you said you had a lot of abilities that you hadn't previously acknowledged and you were just beginning to think that maybe you're not crazy? What do you have a story that made you go, oh wait, these things are actually divination cards?
I just want to mention something that came to me while you were speaking. Look at the word divination. It comes from the word divine. And a lot of people don't see that. They said, so what's a story that I can share? Well, I had somebody come to me about a relationship, and when I looked at them, I just knew these two were both beautiful young people, and they were not meant to be together in a romantic sense. And if they could create a friendship, which actually didn't happen, they didn't remain friends. However, they were both shocked at what the cards brought forward. And because the cards were bringing it forward and not me in my human capacity, they were more open to looking and exploring. Ultimately, they didn't, and it didn't end peacefully. However, that for me it was a confirmation of that the cards basically were saying, this is the path, the better path to take. Because remember, the cards never say, do this, 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 and this. They offer paths, and it's to feel into what is the lightest potential of the message rather than the heaviest potential. Sadly, they chose the heaviest of the potential, not the lighter one. And it's just their choice, it comes back down to choice. And the cards can bring forward different choices. And this I've seen. I was looking to make some decisions, and I said, okay, I'm not even going to think of the solution I would like. And I drew the cards, and it was beautiful. The answers that came forward were really aligned, really beautiful, and actually went to create more. And for me, when you get an answer, it's to ask, is this going to create more, or is it going to create a constriction or a decay in life? And I've learned that with the cards as well. Is the message you're bringing forward going to create, or is it going to constrict? Which is the better path? And it very much helps you with that. I hope I answered your question.
Definitely, definitely. Can you hear that feedback?
No. Mm-mm.
And it led in beautifully to what led you to begin sharing this gift in the form of reading for others.
I realized I had been reading for others for many years as a medical intuitive. I just didn't know I was doing it, and I didn't know that I was a medical intuitive. And because of various things that had happened, what the cards actually did for me, especially this deck, was to give me back not give me back, but enabled me to reclaim my self-worth and my ability. Because so many times I would say to people who'd come to me in my wellness clinic, X, Y, and Z, and please do this, this, and this. And at that time, I wasn't charging as much as I could. In fact, most of them I did not charge. So I was not placing value on my time and my gift. And they would go to a doctor, pay thousands and thousands to get the exact answer that I'd given them. Maybe not with a medical name, however, the solution was the same. And what happened, I'm not sure if I'm answering what did you ask me?
What led you to share reading cards for others?
All right. Because what it does is, they help me regain my perspective. And what I have seen is people may not always believe somebody with skin on, but when you focus on the card, they believe the card, even though it's a person with skin on that's bringing it forward. It's a bit like when you have a child with a very dominant personality and you say to them, look, the clock's telling you it's your bedtime. They cannot argue with the clock, but they can argue with you. So this is the message the cards are bringing forward. They can't argue with the cards, but they could argue with you. And I know that feels like a cop-out, and yet you know what? If it helps that person make a more aligned, more life-creating decision, let's use the tools that are available to us. Because you can draw 3 cards and get one answer. I can draw exactly the same cards and get a different answer, depending on which area we are tapping into for the person we're speaking. But because it had given me so much, I felt I would like to offer to other people the same expansiveness of being able to create more through having a better understanding of the potential of their personal journey. And also how to release their personal pain through having now I'm releasing energy, understanding their personal pain and the potential of turning that pain into productivity and to produce pleasure and creativity.
Beautiful. And it's wonderful that you have found a way to offer a safe connection point for people to allow the divine to flow through. Because that's one thing that I see cards do for us. And you just respect that is what they do for us, for you and your clients.
Yeah. Because ultimately I can pass on a message. The person has to go and do the work and the acceptance.
Definitely.
You can turn the tap on, but somebody has to cup their hands and drink.
So that is definitely in relation to, that is a good awareness to have when working with other people, that you can share the potential available, you can share the opportunities and possibilities. They need to allow themselves to live it. So what golden nugget do you have available to share for those growing their intuition with oracle cards? So specifically using oracle tarot cards to strengthen that intuitive muscle.
Trust yourself. Write it down and note what you've said. Build your vocabulary. Play with your cards. Speak to your cards. Work with your cards. Ask questions. Pull the cards. Write it down. Ask the question in a different way. Pull a different set of cards and see what the common theme is that comes through. Tap into your heart, get an answer within your heart, and see what answer the cards bring forward. And that helps you have an understanding of the different potentials. Because what happens is I can look at the same cards and say, here's a theme, here's a theme, here's a theme. Where are you in your life that one of these themes apply now? One may have applied before or may apply in the future, or it's a message for you to take to give to somebody else. And that is very often what it is. Which piece of the puzzle is for your puzzle now of your life? And for me, that is what the power is of connection and building relationship with it.
Would you be open to giving an example of a question that you can ask in 3 different ways?
Sure. Well, like the one that I said, what would my soul like me to know today? Is there anything different that I should do today that my soul would like to communicate with me? What am I doing that my soul would like me to either to release, to work on, or to shelve for another day, for today's energy?
Okay, that's beautiful. So if someone had, say, a challenge in their life, how would they integrate that? So
okay,
let's say they're fighting with someone.
I was just going to say, most people come with relationship issues. Yes, okay. The question is that the normal ask, should I be with this person? So that's one question. The other question is, how can this person and I co-create together? Am I meant to be co-creating at this time with this person? Is there a common co-creation that this person and I are being asked to work with and through currently? That's actually 4 for the same
that
question.
Was perfect. Those are such powerful examples to use, and definitely, I think, open up an understanding of how the cards communicate for us, because you're not asking a yes or no question. Yes or no is if coming from a very limited space. Creativity, it's ego space. Yes. So if you're asking something with a yes or no, you know it's ego. If you're asking something with what is the bigger picture here, and is it aligned for right now in this time and moment, and questions along those lines, that's when clarity, spirit, wholeness is able to be present. So those examples were just cherry on top.
So glad. Something I'd like to add, and I'm sure your other speakers may share this as well, is people are best, something I learned is the potential. We're talking potential, because I may be shown to co-create with this person, but if I don't get up and do it, it's going to shift. So somebody may say to me, oh, I had a reading when I was 3 years old and it said this and this will happen. Well, let's do that reading again, because in that time period you went to school, you encountered other people, you may not have followed the whisper that was asking you to go left, you went right, and things shift and change. So what was the essence that was meant to be kept, and what were the potentials that have shifted because other people didn't follow their whisper, or you didn't follow your whisper? And then the cards bring forward a potential of the next step, the next flow. Am I saying it never works out that way? No, I'm saying have an awareness of it, because people will hang their hats on it. I'll give you an example. My aunt went to a fortune teller and she was told she's going to live on silver sands. Jessica knows the story. I think I can't remember if I told it to you. Okay, and she loves the beach, loves the sea, and oh, she's going to have this beautiful home on this silvery beach. She lived for 22 years on a road 8 hours away from the ocean and 4 hours away from the closest water, on a road called Silver Sands.
Fortune teller wasn't wrong.
He wasn't wrong.
I've definitely heard stories of fortune tellers telling the fortune and giving insight into big events into people's life. Do you feel oracle cards are, and even how people use tarot cards now, or I suppose maybe this is the distinction between tarot and oracle cards, do you feel as a culture, as a collective, we've moved away from telling the future, or do you feel that is just a unique path to choose, to not give anyone a definite future that this will happen?
If I can answer that in a roundabout way, which I'm very good at.
I think the question was a roundabout way.
To me, I feel there's more awareness and more openness. There's also more people doing what they shouldn't be doing. And it's to have an awareness of who is giving you a message. If somebody gives you a message of death and destruction and leaves you feeling bad, I would run far, far away from that person as fast as you can, because the message that comes forward is always creative and expansive. It does not bring forward fear and doubt and death to a person's spirit. If I may answer you in that way. Can you see things are? It's like if you see a motor car. I had somebody the other day, they saw a motor car and they told somebody they're going to have a car crash. When I looked at it, no, that they would feel better if they got their car cleaned. I mean, how do you go from a car crash to help the person feel better, go and get your car cleaned? Does that make sense? Am I right? Is that person's right? No. What it is you always look for the potential, the probability, and you couch, and it's to be couched in an uplifting way. If, like as a medical intuitive, I had to learn, instead of saying, oh my goodness, you go, have you looked at your eating program lately? It would be so much better if you added in a few fresh fruit and veggies and released a few of the chocolates for your wellness quotient. Am I telling them they're going to have a heart attack in 3 years' time if they don't do it? No, because nothing is definite. Everything is fluid and can change.
Beautiful. And what I really heard is the theme throughout what you were sharing there is we choose the reality we're living.
Yes.
And that's, I feel like, what you were highlighting in what is offered in the cards. Any fortune told is offering a choice. And the realities we're choosing, we can choose to live in a reality that things are definite or things are fluid.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely. So to answer your question, I do feel that's where it's come forward. Everybody is intuitive. Everybody can tune into the cards. Not everybody can always bring forward a message for another body. It may just be for your body, not for another body. Does that make sense? Am I making myself exclusive? No. What I'm saying is be aware of which body you are getting a reading from and where they are at that point in time as well. And that is why I always say to people, set the intention that it's for the highest of good, greatest of good, deepest of love, and highest of integrity and intention, because that opens up creativity rather than constriction.
I want to respect your time, but I feel like you just opened up such a well to jump into with highlighting that being aware if you are able to read for your body or a lot of bodies. What is one way you think somebody would be able to be aware of that? I know what pops up to me is just if you have the desire to do it. Very often I agree with that. I'm saying if you have the desire to do it, it's because you have the potential to do it. But sometimes I have the desire to have very curly hair, but my hair does not have that potential. So if you could elaborate.
For me, it's quite difficult to answer that because I've always taken my gifts for granted, and I just thought everybody could do what I do. And am I saying that person shouldn't do it? Maybe it's a lesson for the person they're doing it for. However, desire is not enough. Understanding how to protect your energy, how to protect the other person's energy, and how to work with and protect the energy of the cards as well is very important. And it comes down to what is for the highest of good. Does it feel light? Does it feel heavy? And be open to making mistakes. Be open to getting it wrong. Because when you can be open to getting it wrong, you can be open to creating more.
I feel like everyone just needs to breathe that in. All the perfectionists on the other side of the screen going, but it can't be wrong. That is such a beautiful reminder that wrong isn't wrong. Wrong is just being aware of all the dynamics of creation.
It's just another footstep forward.
The first pancake is always a flop.
Yeah. Oh, I'm getting much better at my pancakes. The first one doesn't flop.
Oh, yay! Well, that's good. Good hope for everyone.
We won't talk about the second and the third one because I'm so delighted with the first one. I burn the next two. And there we go. I'm prepared to be wrong with pancakes. And that, I will be honest with you, it was one of the biggest lessons I learned. It's okay to make a mistake and get it wrong because energy flows. I say tomato, somebody else says tomato. It's still a red object when it's ripe.
Okay, so 2 final questions on that note. And what's coming through now, you might mention this in my second question, but if you're sitting on the other side of the screen going, like, how there's a lot of doubt and uncertainty inside of me, whether it's just a desire or there's potential, go to Janine's sites, my mom's sites, because she'll be able to inform you what your gifts are, where your gifts are calling you to, and just offer a form of clarity and deeper insight if you feel like you're called in a direction, but there's a little bit of hesitancy. That I'm correct in saying you are available to support people in that way?
Absolutely. And if I can say something, pick up your card and ask your card, am I meant to co-create with this person in this way? Now that's a yes or a no question. So rather ask, how am I meant to co-create with this person? How am I meant to co-create with this person? Is it to encourage them to do their own reading and support them while they do it and do it together? Or am I meant to offer them something? How am I meant to co-create with this person? How am I meant to encourage this person to co-create with another? And that is why when people connect with me, we'll see, how are we meant to co-create together? And that's how it works.
Powerful. Okay, that is a good takeaway. Thank you. So, second last question. What about reading cards as a way of being, that they're just a natural part of who you are, allows your heart to smile?
For me, if I may expand on that a little bit, for me, I enjoy it. I enjoy the colors. I enjoy the textures. I enjoy the voice of the cards. There's some cards when I get them and I go, I've got one specific card that's done in oranges and browns and reds. And I really don't like getting that card. And it really took me a long time to form a relationship with that card. The fact that it's all about DNA and karma may also have had something to do with it. And I really had to sit and work with that card. And it's to understand that, yes, we work with oracles, but you can work with what pendulum, you can work, I think it's called the I Ching. You can work with so many various, as I love working with crystals as well. Crystals, also help me help other people know their answers as well. And it's when you understand that as you work with the energy, it comes forward for you, supports you, and works with you, providing you are doing it for the highest of good. Yes, it will come forward if you're not. However, the outcomes can be a very interesting point of view. And we can say that neutrally. The outcome can be interesting.
Interesting. What will people find when they visit your social media handles?
Oh, I love helping people understand how to be more effortlessly, because most people, when they hear be more, they go, I don't want to put another thing in my life. Effortlessly. People hear the word effortlessly. To create more, to create more and do it intuitively. To absolutely understand that you can know more intuitively, and that's where the cards come in as well. And through doing that, you choose more intentionally. And how do you do this? I help you understand what your thoughts, your words, and your feelings work together to do. And what do we help you do? We help you write a new chapter of your life in a beautifully creative way.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing your time today and sharing all of these insights. I feel like you just laid out a buffet for people to gorge themselves on, and they can take a little treat from that table and a little treat from that table and enjoy the date with their cards moving forward. So whatever stood out to you today, whatever felt light, whatever felt vibrant and subtle, not loud and obnoxious, but just very kind and open, I support you in going with your cards, sitting down and playing, as you pointed out so beautifully in the beginning. That's where your journey began. So thank you for sharing your journey with us today, sharing your wisdom, and until next time, everybody,